Our Captain Bish Johnston is still with us in the studio. Just before we went on that break, you were talking about the situation you were saying we could learn from the situation in Benue State.
Yes, we can use the Benue case as a case study. That is, if we're actually interested in solving this problem, in such a way that, is balanced. If we are not applying politics and religion and tribe into it, because the moment we are biased towards any particular group of people, we cannot find the actual solution to the problem, because whether we like it or not, we are a federal state. So people are allowed under our law to go to any part of the country, reside there, and do business. So we have to find a way that all these people, when they migrate from one part of the country to the other, they can coexist together in peace and in harmony. So for us to be able to attain that, we have to eliminate tribe. We have to eliminate all kinds of sentiments, politics, and all that stuff for us to be able to get to the bottom of the matter and find a lasting solution. Benue State has to be a case study. We have to find out what has worked so far with the anti-grazing law and what hasn't, and see how we can tweak those areas that did not work and see whether they will work.
Well, we'll have let's have my colleague Chamberlain intervene on this matter. Some people will ask, whether or not the manner in which the law has also been implemented has helped frame the conversation. All right. Well, it's over to you, Chamberlain.
Oh, yes, indeed, Bish. Yeah, we have listened to the Commander-in-Chief giving that directive that it will no longer be tolerated. But I'd like you to listen to this particular comment now.
The remote course is part of the grazing route. Hereby we are in this country, right from independence, there are cleared routes where people pass. The issue of arms is all over. In that killing you are talking about, there are also militias that they also did the killing. Some people were caught with arms and they call themselves forest guard or whatever with AK. There is nowhere in this country where arms are allowed to be carried apart from legitimate security forces. So anybody that is carrying any arm is illegal. Militias were caught in the same land doing the same killing. So the killing is not done by any particular group. It's a communal issue. Minister of Defense with the Foreign Affairs Minister and American Ambassador will sit down and reduce some of those conditions. However, the payment was given, deadline for the payment was given as 20th February this year. So we have agreed it will be paid, but the conditions will be looked into.
Now, but just ignore that last bit where he talked about the Minister of Foreign Affairs, but the initial statement of his. Now, these are the people who are supposed to carry out the president's order. If that's his view, what can you tell us about the thinking of key security agencies in this country?
Well, Chamberlain, that's a very big, it's a very big problem. It's unfortunate because these are the people that are supposed to be actually enforcing the laws. And anytime somebody in that position is even perceived to be biased towards any particular group of people, it makes the job of law enforcement very much more difficult. Yeah, although some of the things that he said may be correct, but the fact that they came from such person at such a higher rank in government, and every other thing that he does in Benue State is going to be looked from a very biased perspective, whether he's right or wrong. That is why those of us in authority should not be talking the way he did.
All right, thank you, Bish. Let me toss to Mr. Anang. Looking at that, you spoke about leadership. Yeah. They are in leadership positions now. But can leadership be what they are, good or bad, without the people?
Well, first and foremost, I think your leadership is a reflection of the people, and because you get the leaders you deserve as a people. That's, it works that way. You
subscribe to that too?
I do, because it's like, I know most of my life I worked in fast-moving consumer goods companies. You have a manufacturing plant, and you have where the product comes out. The product of any leadership
So one of those people argue that happens in an ideal scenario.
No, there's nothing.
Does it apply to us here?
I mean, the family is an ideal scenario. Everyone here sitting now is a product of a family. And if there are questions not asked, if checks and balances and accountabilities are not happening, you know, you don't have right parenting, you don't have the right perspective to growing up, and then other institutions that are going to help in the development, you're going to have a certain prototype of leadership.
Is that a given? Because there are people who come from dysfunctional families and they turn out very well.
No, it is. Whether you like it or not, you're born into a family does not mean your parents are going to take care of everything. That's why you go to school. You know, education plays a major role. Education is not just about learning to read and write. There's a part where you get into socio-cultural affairs. There are things that you go, you know, extracurricular. All of that gets into the development. It's almost like building a human being. You're talking about vitamins. You need nutrients. So all of that shaped together to form this perfect piece that you call a leader, supposedly. Not everybody is meant to be a leader, by the way. But then there are certain tenets and values. Values shape what you want to see and who you want to become. And what you're seeing now, my comment then, you know, and I hope you guys didn't take the analogy out of context. I'm basically saying to you that leadership is hard work. And if the people do not see or feel the presence of the output of that leadership, they will not trust it. And if they feel for a second that we cannot entrust decision-making to these people, then there will be a problem. Whatever you say, they will not believe you. So today, that's where we sit as a people. We rarely trust what comes out there. And social media has made it worse.
Can we look at some of the processes that has brought us to this point that we're in now with concerns security? The governor did make mention of, alluded to the fact that Boko Haram have now transmuted into herders and are carrying out these attacks. That's one argument on one hand. And then you have the argument that Nigeria is being invaded by people from Mali, from Chad, from Niger. That's on another hand. And then when you go back to 1986, when then military president Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida, whose statement was released recently, and then at that point there was an attempt to Nigeria joining the Islamic Committee of Nations, and one would have thought that that would have been halted at that point, but that never happened. Do you see a chronology that with the invasion of Nigeria by Mali, Niger, and Chad, and Boko Haram turning into herders, and that particular 1986 episode was not stopped? What do you think is actually going on? Is there an attempt in that regard?
Gimba, you know, I'll probably shock you the way I'm going to take it.